Goes with the most, babe. Hey, what's up you guys? My name is Amber. Welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to be showing y'all how to turn yourselves into Beetlejuice. I'm going to be starting with a base of foundation, since having a layer of foundation underneath any cream or other like special effects makeup that you're going to have kind of helps any colors that you add over top get more opaque, and it gives you a little bit of an even base to kind of just set your face up for success. Go in with the lightest foundation that you can find. I personally have a porcelain shade that is very close to being a pure white. I am already a very pale person, and this like makes me look tan in comparison. So go ahead and do that base all around your face and going down your neck, depending on how much of your neck and shoulders are going to be visible with whatever costume you chose. I personally am just going to apply it like I do my normal foundation with a blending sponge. I am doing a very heavy application of foundation. I wanted a nice thick coat for the base of this makeup look. You are going to want to go over your lips. Going over the lips with foundation will highlight how chapped and gross they are. For this particular look, that actually kind of helps because in Beetlejuice, like Michael Keaton was like gross. If you want to do this makeup like 100% film accurate, you will most likely want to use a bald cap because Michael Keaton's hairline in the film starts kind of way far back and then he has the hair go up. I didn't really want to bother with a bald cap, so we're not doing that today. I'm gonna add some of the foundation and kind of blend it out into my hair. I love how on camera you literally can't tell any difference in like my neck or anything. I mean, which is good, you know, I blended it out well, I guess, but like I look so white. Don't be afraid to get in there with the foundation because like obviously Beetlejuice's hair is like gross and greasy. This is gonna be a to wash later. You're also going to want to add a little bit up in your ears just to be as accurate as possible. Color-wise, I'm definitely liking the vibe we have going on. It is definitely pretty dang close to a pure white. Looking at my reference pictures, I am noticing that Beetlejuice, like Michael Keaton, had facial hair that they covered over top, and I do not have facial hair, at least not to the extent that he did, so I might add the illusion of having that kind of beard underneath by mixing a little bit of a gray cream paint in with foundation and then blending it along the beard line to give that illusion of the more masculine facial hair. I personally like mixing on a plate so that way I can see the exact color that I have and if I think I'll have enough to cover the area that I'm doing. So you can go ahead and add some foundation and then a little dash of the gray cream paint. You're gonna want to use a brush to mix them together to be able to see what the color is before just going ham with it on any beauty blender or foundation brushes that you are using for application. You're just going to go in and kind of lightly dab some of the gray and mix it in with your foundation color until you get a nice color. I would recommend doing a little patch test comparing the color that you're mixing to the actual color that you have applied to your face. So hopefully you can tell on camera that the color I am mixing is slightly darker than the original, but you don't want super dark because you just kind of want the hint of a shadow. You know, you don't want like, bam, I have a full beard. Keep in mind, you can always add more of the darker color. It is harder to make it light again. But if you do apply it to your face and find that it is a little too dark, you can wait for it to kind of dry and set a little bit and then do a layer of the lighter color over top to give that truly kind of covered up effect. Go in with your darker color and your beauty blender and apply that to the beard line. And give yourself that kind of darker effect going on with the covered up facial hair. And kind of just, you know, around the neck, add a little bit extra to kind of make it a little bit more patchy. Michael Keaton had some very noticeable facial hair on the neck, or well, I actually, based on like reference pictures, I can't totally tell if it's just facial hair or if it's dirt or if it's a combination of both. So we're gonna go ahead and add our darker color, kind of patchy, down the neckline, and later we're also going to add some more of a dirt effect. And you can also kind of go in just with the leftover on the beauty blender, just kind of patch it all around the face to make the skin tone a little bit more patchy, and so it's not just bam, you know, a random stripe of the darker color. Start with the eyes next, which are the dark and sunken in kind of blackish purple. But to start, you're gonna want to do your eyebrows, which if yours aren't naturally black, you're going to want to fill in black. I'm just going to be using a powder pencil and the little brush spoolie that it comes with to kind of brush it out through my eyebrows. They do not have to be perfect because you are going to be adding eyeshadow around like the entire eye socket. Always start lighter than you think you're going to, because you can always add more if you need to, especially if you have lighter brows. Now that we have our brows very kind of messily and haphazardly filled in, while we were at this stage, you are going to want to go, again, if you are somebody who doesn't already naturally have facial hair that you are covering up, you're going to want to take the same eyebrow spoolie that you just used and brush through your brows, and then we're going to use the spoolie and the like slight product that came off of the brows when doing so, and we're gonna add little bits of facial hair to where it should be. Looking back at reference pictures, you can especially tell very close to the mustache and kind of goatee area that there is facial hair popping through. So the main area that I want to focus on is the brow, and then kind of the slight surrounding areas on the chin, and then kind of just blend it outwards, but not doing a full beard effect or anything like that. And you want to just kind of lightly dab with the spoolie to give the shadow and the illusion of facial hair. This time you can actually see it more defined on camera, and then continue to do this going down around your chin slightly and blend it out. There's not really much method to the madness. You kind of literally just dab the spoolie because of the actual texture of it. It kind of makes it look slightly like hair. So you kind of dab and pull just slightly. You may want to wipe your spoolie off after every application because too, it does take off some of the white texture, but that adds to the hair looking texture. Next, we're gonna go in with the shadow, and you're going to want to start with a light black base, and then we'll add purple over top. You want a matte black, so I'm going to be using this one right here. And you're definitely going to want to keep an eye on any reference pictures that you have while doing this look, because the black isn't just on top, like it's from the eyebrow going down the entire way, but it does sweep underneath the eyes, and pretty much like it sweeps underneath the eyes and goes up and attaches to the tail end of the eyebrow, and then the eyebrow kind of sweeps kind of just straight down and into the bottom lash line. I'm personally going to be starting just sweeping a light little layer of black underneath the eyes using a larger fluffy blending brush, and then fill in the whole top area. And be sure to, once you put the pigment on the brush, tap it off as much as you can, because again, this is kind of, with anything with SFX, it's always easier to go darker. It is not easy to get it back lighter. Now that you have the base of your eyeshadow, go ahead and repeat that on the other side. It is okay if it is patchy and does not look perfect just yet. And again, keep in reference to reference pictures. So like the reference pictures I'm using, it goes slightly downwards towards the outside. So you want to make an effort to get the shape approximately right. And you want to get as close to your lash lines as possible. When you are at the line where your brow meets the shadow, you may have to work a little bit more to dig in and to really blend the color in with the brows. You want to kind of get the eyes somewhat even, at least with the outer shape. You're going to go in with the same thing, but this time with a purple shadow. I'm going to be going in with this one. Go ahead and use the same larger fluffy blending brush that you used for the black and go in with the purple. Now we have that. It definitely purpled up the eyes a little bit and gave it more of an even color, but it is still not quite purple enough to warm it and purple it up a little bit slightly. I am going to be going in with this shade. I'm actually going to go in with the same brush, slightly wiped off, but still having some remnants of like the black and the darker purple pigment left over. And I'm going to go ahead and tap it slightly, again, around the facial hair area and blend it out slightly to add more of a dirtier effect. Again, not adding any new product, just using what is left over on the brush. And go ahead and use another fluffier blending brush, maybe even like a blush brush, to kind of blend that out. And go ahead and kind of just very, very lightly smudge out the edges of your eyes. And kind of just do a whole kind of patchy layer all over your face and neck. Next, we are going to go in and dirty up our face a bit, especially around the frame of the face and going down the neck. I am personally going to be using a product that's just referred to as Zombie Dirt. It's a very generic product that you can get from almost any Halloween costume shop. I'm pretty sure it's just like a loose pigment in the shades, a kind of warmer brown, like straight up dirt tone, and then we have a kind of lighter-ish black. We're first going to go in with the warmer brown around the face very patchily, and then we're gonna go in again with the black to add some slight dimension, especially since Beetlejuice's whole color palette is more cooler toned. To do so, I'm going to be taking a fluffy blush brush tapping lightly into the pigment and dusting most of it off, and then kind of just dabbing very lightly, kind of patchily around the frame of the face and bringing it down the neck. And definitely do not be afraid to pull it into the hairline to help blend, or further back onto the bald cap if that's what you're using, to help blend it out. And you obviously do not want it to be perfect. You want it to be very patchy and look like he literally kind of just crawled out of a grave, which I know, like, that's not exactly what he does. I mean, like, kind of. He comes out of a casket, so like he doesn't literally dig himself out of grave. Well, maybe he does later in the film. I don't know. It's been a little bit since I've watched it. Anyways, he looks like he just crawled himself out of a grave. So that's what we're going for. And a little bit around the facial hair area, because that's where so much of his dirt is focused. Now that you have your brown layer done, go ahead and go in with a black, not in all of the exact same places, kind of just to add a little bit of extra texture and dimension. You're going to want to be extremely frugal with this one since it is black and you don't want to completely ruin what you have already done. By this point, you should have effectively dirtied yourself up quite a bit. If you're afraid that you dirtied yourself up a little too much, go ahead and go in with the beauty blender that we used with our original foundation and kind of just do a light patchy layer over top to brighten back up some of the especially dark areas. And you especially want to do so in the main kind of T-zone of the face, like your cheeks and your nose, because in the movie those are the brightest and whitest areas of Beetlejuice, where he kind of gets darker and dingier the closer to the hairline that he gets. And especially do this on the lips, because like the lips are the lightest. Once you have yourself effectively dirtied up, you're going to go and take a sponge applicator and some green cream makeups to go ahead and finally start adding the green mossy effects that frames his face and runs down his neck. First, you are going to want to take your sponge, which generally come, you know, little squares, and you're actually going to want to take your fingers and rip apart some of the edges, so that once you are applying, you are not going to have any super harsh edges, because with these sponges, when you kind of dip it into the product, a lot tends to get distributed onto the corners, and it's more of a harsher line when you apply, as opposed to the kind of feathered spongy effect that you're going for. So go ahead and just, you know, rip some of the edges and kind of, you know, make it a little bit more funky. And then you're gonna go ahead and go in, and this green as my first layer, just very sporadic. This is the lighter of the two greens I'm personally using. So we're gonna go ahead and do the lighter first, just to make sure that you can actually see some of it. And then we'll go ahead and do the darker over top to add some extra texture. Pretty much doing the same thing that we kind of did with the dirts, but now with the paint and not as far blended out of the face. So you're gonna keep this more centrally focused to the actual edges and into your hairline / bald cap, and then down the neck. And especially when you go down the neck, when you're looking at actual reference pictures, you can tell it's mostly focused on the sides and there's not really any in the middle. So stay pretty much on the sides and just frame the face. Dab slightly to deposit color. With sponges, I find sometimes you have to dab and twist depending on how liquidy the cream paints are. Since this is a cream paint pot, it's a bit more solid. And you know, you dab it onto the hairline and around the frame of the face. And keep in mind, you are going to be going in with another green layer. You will want to note Beetlejuice does have a little patch of moss like growing off of the side of his lip, so you are going to want to add a little bit of green there as well. So now you have your face effectively framed with the first layer of the lighter green. You are going to want to go ahead and straight kind of dab, get the product, and then do a few spots, just tiny ones here and there, of just directly dabbing and leaving the texture as is instead of more blending it, because when you kind of dab it, you can kind of see the actual spores of the sponge and give that extra more like fungal texture. So that helps break up the texture just a little bit. And then you are going to go in and do the exact same thing with your darker shade and just go ahead and do it slightly, maybe not as much as you did the lighter shade, so you can see a lot of the lighter shade through. Since this second one is more of a liquidy cream paint, I'm actually kind of going to blend it out on my hand to give a little bit of an easier place to kind of dab on my color. Now you could definitely just leave the green look like that if you chose, but I scoured the internet looking for different Beetlejuice tutorials when doing my research for this because I wanted to see who had already done what. And one thing that I have yet to have seen is to use actual moss to add slightly around the frame of the face. This is straight up just like a package of moss that I got from like craft store. It pretty much, it breaks apart easily. Like when you move it, it kind of just sheds. So you are going to want to be taking all of these little pieces, and we'll end up taking some and using spirit gum to adhere it to some of the edges. Not all over what we already did, because the green texture that we have just using the cream paint is really good, but just to add that extra three-dimensional realistic, we're going to add it to some, especially like around the mouth just slightly and in a few spots, because I think V. Neil actually did use real moss. You're going to want to pull out any spirit gum that you have to show y'all really well how to do it. We're just going to take a teeny kind of tiny little bit and do it around the mouth. Take your spirit gum, and since the moss is so break-aparty and very difficult to get anything adhered to it, we are just going to be adhering the spirit gum to the skin and then placing the moss over top. You're going to put it around the area that you want it to be and go ahead and wait about 30 seconds until it is tacky. For spirit gum, it is very important for you to allow it to get a little bit tacky first, because that will allow whatever your product is to stick better. Once you have allowed it to go tacky, go ahead and take a little sprig of your moss and press it to the face. Be sure to press it really well so that it sticks. So if you are not stupid like me, go ahead and use fingers that you didn't use to test the tackiness of the spirit gum to place the moss on top, so that way it doesn't all just stick to your fingers. And there you have the actual moss stuck directly to your face. Go ahead and do this in several spots, framing the face and going down the neck. And you definitely want to do this process over top, like a towel or something, because the moss is so crumbly that a lot of it comes off. I've gotten so much moss down my shirt. Oops. Also, feel free to put moss back even up into your hairline if you feel like blending it out. I'm kind of liking the amount that I have going on. There's enough, you can tell it's some nice real moss, but not so much that it's overwhelming the rest of the look and the color pigments that we already had. So then we have the hair, which first you're going to want to take your hair out. And since my hair is significantly longer than Michael Keaton was, we're just gonna have to go with the same vibe instead of exact appearance. But you're going to want to start by teasing your hair towards the hairline to just give it that crazy volume and gross appearance. So we have a little bit of volume. I'm going to be adding some texturizing spray to it. And honestly, if you have longer hair than I do, keep just most of it kind of behind your face. And then we are going to go in with a green hairspray around the edge. You definitely want to be careful that you don't cover up all of the work that you already did, but also you may want to help blend it slightly. So like have a slight overlap with the makeup and hairspray, but don't completely cover up what you did. Also, do this outside, preferably, at least in a more ventilated area. Open a window or something if you're doing it inside. And I'm losing a lot of my moss, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more moss and a little bit more green. Now that I've added some more on the neck, I'm definitely feeling a little bit better about how it looks. Once you're at this point, this is kind of the completion of the look. Go ahead and pop on any costume pieces that you have and add some more as you see fit once you have the costume on and see how the overall look is. And you have completed the Beetlejuice look. I feel like we did a pretty good job. Obviously, if you were to look at me, most people would be able to guess that I was Beetlejuice. If you liked this video, go ahead and give my channel a subscribe, as well as like and share this video, letting me know that you want to see some more special effects makeup content, as well as getting us closer to 100 subscribers, because I am having a 100 subscriber giveaway. If anybody uses my tutorial, and especially like my moss idea to recreate any looks, I would love to see them. Go ahead and tag me in them on Instagram at What Is Love Is The Weapon. Thank you guys so much for watching. I had a blast hanging out with y'all. Peace. If anything, I kind of look more like Beetlejuice at the very end when like his head gets shrunk.